So a lot of big time celebrities like Brad Pitt and Joe Rogan are coming out and openly admitting that they're giving up drinking alcohol, which is bringing a huge talk about sobriety. And this just isn't something that's going on Hollywood, guys. A lot of people on a bigger scale are quitting drinking, which brings us talking about going California sober. Because I think if we're going to talk about sobriety and talk about California sober and things like Alcohol Anonymous, AA, or NA, Narcotics Anonymous, it's only fair that you get both sides of the argument. Because what I've realized is going down this rabbit hole and doing some research is there's a dark side of AA and NA that is not being talked about within that inner circle and those groups. And I think it's really important to share that information with you, because I don't like the idea of people shitting on the idea of people using cannabis as a medicine to overcome sobriety and praising AA as the ultimate medicine for sobriety. Because when you really boil it down, guys, what you're going to find out is that AA is just as harmful for a person's sobriety as cannabis can be for certain people, and cannabis is just as positive for a person's sobriety as AA couldn't be for certain people. The main point you got to realize is not everybody is the same, guys. You know, what works for you might not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else might not work for you. But that doesn't justify shitting on going California sober or shitting on AA. But before you can actually make that argument or make that decision, I think it's important that you understand a couple of things that most people might not. So let's start with a brief history lesson, guys. And the reason for this is the date is really important, and you'll understand after I tell you. So AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or NA came later, but AA was actually founded in 1935 by Bill Wilson and Bob Smith, okay? Now, the reason the date of this is important is because if you're looking at AA as a medicine, which it is, it's a medicine that's practiced by group therapy, if you will, or by going to groups. But if you boil it down into a physical form like a pill or a flower, what you have is a patent in 1935 that has never been updated and never been changed. Now, that's really important, and the reason that's important, and the proof is in the pudding because numbers don't lie, guys, is that in the early years of Alcoholics Anonymous, what you saw is a very high success rate. I would say like 60, 70, 75% of people were getting what they wanted as far as reaching their sobriety with AA. NA, I'm not sure about that, but what you see today is that number has completely flipped. When it comes to the success rate of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's extremely low. I'd say 10, 15, 20, maybe 25%. What the statistic there is showing you is that AA isn't working like it used to. And I think a big portion of that is society is not what it was in 1935. Morals, values, and the chemicals and the vices that people are using in order to escape and find that happiness have become a lot more extreme. So society's changed, people have changed, but the medicine has stayed the same. And I think what you need to kind of ponder or bounce around in your mind a little bit is, would you use the same medicine that's pretty much almost a century old, 100 years old, it's like 90 years old now, that has never been updated, never been improved, and just automatically assumes that it's the greatest cure for sobriety that there is, or the greatest path to sobriety that there is? While flip that, and when you look at cannabis or going California sober, cannabis has seen leaps and bounds in terms of the scientific research that's been done and its use in medicinal qualities. But when you look at sobriety, I don't think it's a physical thing as much as it is a mental thing. And, like I said, one might work for you, one might not. But let's jump into something else that's not talked about when it comes to AA. And that's Bill Wilson was on acid, guys. Yeah, so when Bill Wilson originally came to his spiritual awakening, because that's what happened when he was on LSD, and we'll get into the spiritual awakening religious aspect of that in a second and why it's important. But Bill Wilson was actually working with a psychiatrist named Humphrey Osmond. He was a British psychiatrist, and they were doing LSD. This is when LSD was experimental, and psychiatrists were using it for certain things, and Bill Wilson was taking LSD in a controlled environment with the psychiatrist when he stumbled upon his spiritual enlightenment and wrote the big book, or the big blue book. When you think of AA or NA, it's always the big book, and that is the doctrine, if you will, that Bill Wilson wrote in order for the 12-step program. And I say doctrine because what you see is, as a spiritual enlightenment, guys, it is kind of practiced as a religion, because religion is something that's practiced, right? And this is a practice of medicine. But the problem you see in this, it's very cultish. And the best analogy I can give you about this, and this is where the negativity comes in for the side when I said AA can be just as harmful. Cults aren't good, guys. Religiously, I think if you look at a religious cult, like people would jump to Scientology. But if you take AA as a product, like an MLM, a network marketing, a multi-level marketing product. Imagine it's a product that people are trying to push onto as many people as possible. And then what you see, and think of network marketing companies too, and multi-level marketing, because they're very cultish. And what happens is, the minute somebody stumbles upon some facts that they find out don't add up to what's being preached to them in their cult religion, they decide they want to step away. Now, if they don't just jump out immediately, they're pushed and they're told you're wrong, you don't know what you're thinking, and they try to hypnotize you or brainwash you into believing that this product is still the best product for you, and you should only use this product, and no other product is better than their product, because that's just the cult, right? And then if you actually get out of the cult, what happens? And let's say you're in AA and you reach your sobriety and you're just like, I just don't want to go to these meetings anymore. I don't feel like talking about all the days that I was, at my lowest, when I'm living my best life, and I don't need meetings or this group of people. When you separate yourself from the cult, those groups, a lot of people are getting shunned, ostracized. I mean, it's really bad. And if you don't believe me, I'll put some links in the description below of people that are coming out specifically on YouTube talking about their nightmare experiences getting out of AA and how the people are treating them. Guys, if somebody reaches sobriety and they decide they don't need to take your magic pill anymore, why are you shitting on them? That's like the worst thing you could possibly do. Like, you should be praising them and saying, great job, I wish the best for you. And you don't see that in cannabis. I think cannabis users aren't a cult. I mean, it's a culture. There's definitely cannabis culture into it, and I think it's positive. But I've never, heard somebody say, "Hey, I'm gonna give up weed," and I look at them and be like, "What's wrong with you, you fucking idiot?" Like, you don't throw that negativity about it. And cannabis is definitely something, just like AA or NA. It's a social experience. A lot of people, when they're indulging in cannabis or smoking cannabis, it's usually a group event, like a meet. It's not a meeting, but it's a group thing. You're socializing. It's positive for your mental health. You're getting out there. And, and most of the people that use cannabis in those atmospheres, they're always positive. I mean, I'm not saying cannabis is, there definitely can be stoned assholes. Don't get me wrong. That's just how the world is. But I don't like the idea of people, especially the AA groups, shitting on the idea of people using cannabis just like a medicine, just like they're using AA and that spiritual enlightenment. I mean, hell, Bill Wilson originally thought people should be taking LSD in the groups during that time period in order to see the same spiritual enlightenment that he saw. However, LSD still to this day is an illegal drug. So if somebody walked into an AA group tripping balls on acid and was like, hey, you know what? I'm enlightened. I understand what Bill was talking about. I don't need you guys anymore. Would you shit on them the same way you shit on people for smoking cannabis for staying sober? And I mean, and furthermore, like, go down the road and look at the heroin epidemic. People that are on Suboxone or whatever drug the government makes them take to overcome their addiction to heroin. And the only reason the government's making them take one drug over the other is simply for the government can get a tax cut and make profit for them taking that drug. I get it. Sobriety is sobriety, doing absolutely nothing. However, the main goal of somebody getting as close to sobriety as possible is living a positive and healthy life. And when you look at it that way, guys, I really think, and especially through the life experiences I've dealt with the cannabis culture and the stoners and the weed heads or the potheads or whatever you want to call them, dirty hippies, if you know, whatnot. But I think it's a much more positive experience than what people are experiencing leaving AA because they've reached sobriety. And the reason I brought this up too, a big part of it is Brad Pitt is definitely preaching AA, and I've heard other celebrities preaching AA, and I'm not saying it doesn't work, guys. I'm just saying if it's not for you, it's not for you. And that's cool. That's totally cool. But if smoking weed's for you and it makes you feel better and it's, you know, helping you not do the things that were causing you to live a negative life, keep fucking doing it. And if somebody's gonna shit on you for that, fuck them, guys. That's it, guys. But check out the videos that I'm going to leave over here and here. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any comment or any experience that you've gone through by reaching your sobriety or being California sober, don't be shy, guys. I don't bite. Leave a comment in the comment section below. That's it, guys. Take it easy. Peace. Stay green and keep growing. Your own medicine, that is.